Good morning, good morning, good morning. You are listening to Church Without Walls on the New Orleans Talk Network. Come to you every Monday morning, 11 to 12 Central Standard Time. We're Church Without Walls. We're not a church building, but we are the church. You, the viewers and the listening audience, y'all make up Church Without Walls because we all are the church. We child of God, so that make all of us the church. And that's why we are Church Without Walls. We have no boundary. We come to you every Monday morning to give you information that you may have learned when you went to your church house on Sunday, whatever day you may go, and you can share it with your sister and brother. And we come to you every Monday morning to give you this information. And I always say we provide a topic, and y'all provide the conversation. We on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So we ask you to invite, at least I invite you this morning to tell a neighbor, tell a friend that we want to talk about our nation and our parish. Also, I'm your host, Charles Stewart, and Reverend Anthony Williams is the co-host. We come to you every Monday morning, 11 to 12. We want to do a shout out to those that may be sick and shed in. And to our listening audience, many tell me, say, I enjoy listening to the show on Monday. I can't call, but I listen to y'all every Monday morning. So I'm glad for that audience and continue to listening, and maybe someday you'll be able to sneak in the bathroom and call in and voice your concern. This morning, I'm excited, happy that we have a very, very special guest in the studio this morning. He is a special young man. God bless young man. A businessman. And hear me out. He is a businessman, a former state representative, and a former senator. Too many people doesn't walk around with that kind of resume. And he in the studio this morning. I'm so happy to have him. No other than Derrick Shepard. Mr. Shepard.
Thank you for having me. Good morning to everyone listening. It's an honor to be here. I've heard nothing but good things about the show. I was able to catch it a couple of times, and it's just a pleasure to be on this side of the camera.
Mr. Shepard, we're so happy to have you. And we're going to be talking this morning about Jefferson Parish, and we're going to talk a little bit about New Orleans also. Y'all know they have some special races coming up. At least the mayor race in New Orleans and the city council race coming up, and also they have a couple races in Jefferson Parish. But we mainly want to talk about Jefferson Parish. I know former Senator Mr. Shepard know a lot about Jefferson Parish. I know he have a lot of things that he can educate our listening audience about Jefferson Parish. Mr. Shepard, number one, let's talk about New Orleans. We want to try to give them a shout out with the mayor race going on. Last poll that I seen had the two women candidates were 1 and 2. And also the judge was number 3. I think Troy Henry was number 4. And I know Mr. Shepard, he very much involved in government and politics. He built a lot of buildings, built a lot of houses, but he pay attention to the politics part of it. He have a special anointing that God give him. And I know he loved government in New Orleans or Jefferson Parish because he interfaith with them.
Well, I think that's an excellent topic to talk about. It's an exciting time. First of all, I want to encourage all the voters out in Orleans Parish as well as those in Jefferson Parish to get out and vote, exercise your right. Every time there's an election, I always think about Avery Alexander being dragged out of the courthouse steps, City Hall steps, trying to make a difference for the people to vote. So I think it's just a travesty if you do not exercise your right to vote. There's so many candidates that are running. There's somebody who you should be excited about to support. If not, please check with some friends and families to get out there and exercise your right to vote. I'm excited. I had the pleasure once upon a time of representing the 7th Ward, all of the 8th Ward, and half of the 9th Ward, and part of the 6th Ward up in the Triangle, Bywater and the Marigny area. So I am familiar with the city. I'm also familiar with some of the candidates running. I think it's interesting so far that we see this poll of the two ladies leading the judge, and then you have the other candidates as well. I think it's a very exciting time. Obviously, New Orleans has never had a woman mayor, and here's an opportunity. The last time, interesting, the last time they had a chance was Miss Paulette Irons, and of course I was supporting her as well. But she had some issues down the stretch, and that allowed Mr. Nagin to be elected as mayor of New Orleans. So that was an interesting time. So we kind of have it coming back full circle, and I don't think if we can't get one of these two ladies elected, I don't know if it's ever going to happen in Jefferson Parish. I mean, in Orleans Parish, Mr. Stewart. So we'll see what happens.
Well, according to, I think the poll was Charbonnet, she was leading. She had 20-something%, and Miss Ram, what's her name?
Cantrell.
Cantrell
Yes.
was number 2, and then the judge was number 3. Saying that to say this here, that Mr. Shepard, I always believe that people, when they go to the polling vote, I know it's in New Orleans, and by me don't live in New Orleans, I don't go over there a lot. I haven't seen a lot of action, so when I don't see a lot of action on my part, I believe that people, when they go to the poll, when they're not sure who they want to vote for, they vote for a name that they know.
Well, name recognition is always the number one key for any particular candidate to get elected. You have to build name recognition. It helps if you already have it. I'm always in New Orleans. I'm always across the river. As we say, from the West Bank going to the East Bank, we going across the river, and those on that side say they coming across the river over here. So it's kind of interesting in this local area. But I see a lot of activity, and it's you do. I see the 3 primary candidates: Cantrell, Charbonnet, and Bagnaris doing their thing. Street signs, billboards, television activity. And then you also have the strong coming on by Troy Henry, and as well as Tommy Vassell. I think it's maybe a little late in the game for them, but we'll see. Maybe they're trying the Nagin approach to come on strong late. But I think it's pretty much those 3, and you also have the white candidate Skurlock out there with his I think mostly stands about monuments and things of that nature, and that hasn't caught on. I think the most interesting thing about this race is the white vote. To be frank with you, it's amazing to see that there hasn't been a consensus white candidate that comes out. I thought Skurlock would have the chance, and then obviously if you're the white candidate, you make the runoff. You may not do well in the end. Who knows? But you make the runoff. But effectively, the 5 candidates whom I previously mentioned have been able to prevent a white candidate from being the white potential candidate in this race, and they're splitting the white vote. And basically, whoever gets the white vote is going to be, in my opinion, make it to the runoff. The black vote is pretty much divided amongst people whom they know, so they're going on like this. So that's what's happening, and from my perspective.
I kind of watched over the weekend with the Shepard, that you mentioned the white vote. And I noticed pretty much on some of the cable channels, primarily deal with politics, Cox K114. For some other reason, and I've been noticing some comments on Channel 4, they seem to favor Troy Henry for some reason. At the last minute, they said that the last couple of debates, he was the superior candidate, and that's the way they seen it. They wonder was it a little too late for him, but they think that he understands the city problem. They feel that most all the candidates saying the same thing, except Mr. Carter. That's the way it seemed to me. The white community, like you said, that Ray Nagin approach, is he closing fast, in your opinion?
No, I looked at it real. I've been studying it, and I don't see the momentum swing for Mr. Henry to come on and garner enough of the white vote. In my experience, I've always been direct. I find that if given a choice, white people will prefer to vote for a white candidate. Now, without a significant, strong white candidate, which I thought Skurlock would may have had that opportunity, but I think he squandered those opportunities when he's had them by going to the fringe element. Without that, the white vote is being divided. Cantrell has been strong uptown with a white constituency. Charbonnet has been getting the white vote as well as the white money, and now Mr. Bagnaris has come on strong with the white money in the form of Mr. Stewart and his friends who've been mad at the mayor, so they've been looking for a candidate to push. So without the galvanizing, and when you're talking about the white vote, you're talking about at least 60 to 70% of the white vote, because the white vote is 40 to 45% of the voting.
Okay.
So you need 70% of that white vote to make a difference. So if you
Okay.
even if you get 30, you're not there.
Okay, we have a caller on line one. Cynthia Jones, go ahead on caller. You're on the air, caller.
Hi, how are you?
Just fine. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Hey, how you doing?
Just fine.
This is Miss Cynthia Jones.
You want to talk about the mayoral race in New Orleans or Jefferson Parish politics?
Jefferson Parish policy.
Okay. We listen. You
What's
got
your
the
question?
mic.
Hello?
Hello, we listening to you. What you want to know about Jefferson Parish politics? You have the mic.
Okay, I can't hear.
Do you have a comment or a question?
I can't hear you.
Do you have a comment or question?
While we work that out, I wanted to ask you, what do you thought about some of the lower races? Because I think that's going to be interesting. I think probably the most interesting race in New Orleans, if I look back and I sit around and I think about it, is the council at large.
Council at large?
Yeah, between Moreno and Dr. Bowie.
I
I think everyone else, probably with Division C, which is the Algiers seat, that's going to be interesting because you got the black-white issue going on, the old versus the new, but this one here is very intriguing. It kind of reminds me of a race before with Jackie Clarkson running at large against Cynthia Willard Lewis. I remember that race.
Right.
So this race is kind of reminding me about that. In that race, Jackie Clarkson had the money. Cynthia Willard Lewis had a good name recognition. She ran hard in a majority black city, but Jackie was able to pull it out. If I'm not mistaken, by under 1,000 votes, and you kind of have this dynamic taking place again. And see, races like that always are intriguing to me, Charles,
Right.
because what you have is the formula that most white candidates in New Orleans use. I get 90% of the white vote, and all I need is about 30% of the black vote, and I win. And it's always been intriguing to me on two fronts. As I stated earlier, white will vote for white. White eat white meat is a
Right.
little statement I've heard. They will.
Right.
Qualified or not qualified. I've seen that happen. But what's always been intriguing to me is who is that 30% that would cross over. Now, if you're talking about people that are not qualified, I'm all about qualifications. But then when you talk about just generally speaking, who are the people that are crossing over to vote for a white candidate over a qualified black in a majority black city? That dynamic in itself is worthy of a term paper in political
Right.
science.
Well, one thing that I have watching politics and also a witness, I get my politics from people like my auntie or somebody that not involved in politics.
Mm-hmm.
When you say in New Orleans at 30%, let me tell you what happened in New Orleans. In New Orleans, like my auntie said, I don't know if you remember Peggy Wilson.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I remember.
Peggy Wilson, you got
Very
Stacey
controversial.
Head.
Yeah.
For some reason, those people are able to go to the black people
Jackie
a
Clarkson.
wedding 9, 10, every now and then. They might show up at a church anniversary. For whatever reason, they know how to get that 30%. And I always tell people, I don't know what Peggy Wilson doing these days, but her base there with Stacey Head and all of them, they play a real important part in the politics in New Orleans. Normally, whoever they go with, they know they got a solid vote right there. It could be that solid 20%. And I do know and I believe in New Orleans, especially in the Hollywood area, they have at least, I would say 30, maybe 35% African American believe in a white candidate. Peggy Wilson, state head, said it's all right to believe that because they came to the church anniversary and they have made, come to the family reunion. But for whatever reason, they believe in another thing important, Mr. Shepard, those people deliver too. When they call up and say, we need this and need that, they deliver for certain people. That's important. Saying that to say this, we're going to have to take our first break. But you want to be a part of the show, you listen to Church Without Walls on the New Orleans Talk Network, 504-341-8255. We'll be right back. Our special guest, Mr. Derrick Shepard, former senator.
In the month of October, we honor those who we have loved and lost, and all of us who remain in the fight, the warrior angels. New Orleans Talk Network and Boomers Lifestyle Network present the 2017 Warriors Angels fundraiser for the Susan G. Komen For the Cure, Thursday, October 19th, 2017, 6 o'clock to 8:30 p.m. at the New Orleans Talk Network, 7601 West Bank Expressway, Mayoral. There will be food, networking, and entertainment. All are invited. We will never stop fighting. We will never forget.
Living my life like it's golden. Living my life like it's golden.
Join in on Mondays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. for Breaking the Silence with Dr. Patricia Fry. There are no limitations or boundaries. We talk about life, and guess what? That includes you. So download the app today, New Orleans Talk Network, and subscribe on YouTube. That's every Monday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. New Orleans Talk Network, Breaking the Silence with Dr. Patricia Fry.
Happy Mary. Talk Radio. Real Talk with Mary J at 10 p.m. It's going to be a Merry Monday every Monday at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. You've just tuned into New Orleans Talk Network.
Are you looking for a home to live stream your next event? Give us a call here at Bethesda Community Event Center, the only place on the Gulf Coast that can host and broadcast live your wedding reception, your baby shower, business seminar, and any other special event. Give us a call at 504-708-9454 for more details.
We are back. You are listening to Church Without Walls. Charles Stewart and Reverend Anthony Williams is your host. And our studio guest is no other than former Senator Derrick Shepard. And we were talking about New Orleans politics. And we had got into the council races. And I think at large race also.
Right. We had talked about that.
And I was telling him at the end that 30% people like Stacey Head and Peggy Wilson seemed like that's a built-in 30% solid vote. Normally, the candidate that they get behind, I think in the mayoral race, any race, they have an excellent opportunity of winning. So if you'd like to get in on the conversation this morning, 504-341-8255. Get in on the conversation. You is the reason why we are here this morning. You why Mr. Shepard is here this morning to give you some news that you need to hear. And Mr. Shepard, back to the councilmatic race you were talking about.
Right. The other one that I'm looking at, Mr. Stewart, I think is very interesting is the Algiers race. Okay. Obviously, being here on the West Bank, we're familiar with Algiers. You have Nadine Ramsey, who is running against the person whom she replaced. Yeah. And it seems like the whole controversy started up initially over French Quarter business. Miss Palmer. Miss Palmer was upset with Miss. I always call her Judge Ramsey. So every time I see her, I still call her Judge Ramsey. She was a judge for many years. So she was upset about something that happened in the French Quarter, and some of her former constituents, Ms. Palmer's former constituents, was mad at the current council lady for not approving or for approving something that they didn't like. So it started some animosity, and that has went on into further that we have this interesting campaign going on, and it's another race of black versus white, and now we're going to see whether or not Ms. Ramsey has been doing enough in both communities to warrant a second term. We'll see.
Okay, and that's a very important race, and I been looking at it, and I think they got kind of race baiting a little bit in that race also.
It's a little bit. Well, I've never known a race not to be a little bit of everything. When people want to win, they go in. I'm guilty of that myself. I'm guilty of doing everything that's legally and ethically and morally correct to win. So I don't suggest that that's not happening, but it's a contact sport. You got to be ready for it. You have to be ready for anything that comes at you. And most of the time, I believe that your record should speak for itself. If you've been doing your job, then I think the people will support you, black and white.
Okay, Mr. Shepard, I don't want to put you on the spot, but the race in New Orleans, I think, coming up in a couple of weeks. I mean, if you had to pick the day, how you see the race?
In the mayor's race, I think that it's momentum is very interesting, and I think right now the momentum is going with Bagnaris and Cantrell to make the runoff. I think there's a lot of negative momentum going against Charbonnet, so she's got some headwinds that she's heading. So if I had to pick the two horses, I'll pick those two right now. The council at large race, I think obviously Jason Williams is going to get reelected, as he should. In the other race between Moreno and Dr. Bowie, I would imagine, I have no qualms about saying I'm supporting Dr. Bowie in that race, so whatever happens in that race, it is what it is. But in the Algiers race, I'm gonna go with the incumbent until I see some signs that say something different. I think it's hard to beat an incumbent when an incumbent has a record of delivering. So it'll be hard pressed for me to see her lose in that race. The other race, the Uptown race, Division B, I'm not that familiar with. I know Mr. Banks very well, and I believe it's going to be a runoff between him and Mr. Bloom. And I think D and E the incumbents are going to win in those ones as well. So that's what I had to pick on those.
Okay, the mayor race, Mr. Shepard, you and I picked the same two candidates.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In the mayor race, I told a friend of mine, Mr. Carter, him and I was talking about the mayor race, and he was telling me that Delta Ray, she got it. That was a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. He was telling me. So she was like 40-something% in the pool. I said, Doc, that won't last. It's going to take about 23%. If you get that, you make the runoff. I said, I see that. Back there, he going to close in. And the white candidates have made some mistakes. For instance, mistake he made out in California. I think
Oh
he has an
yeah,
issue.
yeah.
Well, that vote, I think, gonna go to back there,
Okay.
and because people know him, he was in there. And another thing you have to be real careful about is that back there he was in a runoff against Michelangelo, and he had a lot of money left over from that race. Not only that, people remember him, and when you don't do nothing against people, if they voted for you one time, they'll vote for you again. Now, something else to be real careful about is I don't know which way that the white community gonna go. It's always a possibility, and it's very slim. But I think McNair's number one right now. I have Cantrell number two. Now number three, Troy Carter. You don't know his movement because
Not Carter, you Henry.
I mean Troy Henry. I'm trying to say.
Right.
His movement, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't be the two men and no about the two women. But I kind of believe that the Peggy Wilson and the Stacey Head could be behind the scene if they go with Contreras or if they go with Troy Henry. That would be number two. That's my guess in that race.
Well, you know, because I don't vote in the race, I can only look at it from the outside. But I could tell you this, and Ron Williams, you can speak on this greatly. One of the reason why I think Cantrell is going to be there regardless is because this is why, regardless of who you support, you should vote. And a race like mayor and council is so important to your life. The first thing Cantrell came out of the box and she said is, I'm getting rid of all the cameras. Look, it doesn't take a rocket science to know that we are being nickeled and dimed with taxes, fees. Everything costs something. Sewage and Water Board went up. The parking tickets went up. The traffic tickets went up. Everything is going up. And for a candidate to come out the box and immediately says that I'm not for you being nickel and dime, I'm thinking about, people like your mother who lived in Holly Grove on fixed income, or your aunt or anybody like that who have to live in this city.
Right.
And why on the backs of these people do we have to have pay increases for deputy mayors and all of these people who making a fine living while these people are paying the bills? So for somebody like that, I think that she has a natural base that sticks well with people who people are going to resonate with. And we all know that races like this are the ones that really matter most in your life, way more than president.
Right. Well, one of the things we don't do is that we don't have educational base out there where we can educate the public on what's happening, what the voters have done, person who's running, how they are, how they're working in the community. And we don't have educational base out there that can actually give those people that type of information. And to me, that some of that should be taking places in our churches.
Right.
The pastors ought to have that information funneled down to them, and then they can disseminate that information through their congregation, and from the congregation they can disseminate it through others, and that will get the information out to let the people know who is the best candidate.
I remember when Councilman Jones first started, he used to do this scorecard that when he first got in, that would show what previous elected officials got and had little grades by them, or checks by them, or stars, or whatever. But information like that is critical. And it seems like the ones who educate the public the most are the ones who are most successful.
And that's exactly right. So I think that the people who are running should take some time to try and set up educational-based program within that will educate the people so that they can know, this candidate is coming out. What have he done for the community?
Right.
What has he accomplished?
And if you're an incumbent, you should be happy to stand on your record.
Right.
You should be proud of it. So I agree with you 100%. So we'll see what happens in New Orleans. I think it's interesting.
504-341-8255. You can get in and tell us who you like in the race. And I was kind of leaning, I say, Charbonnet and Cantrell, but I was kind of saying maybe Troy Carter, but I've listened to former Senator Shepard when he laid out about Cantrell's her relationship with the community. I'm going to have to lean back I'm gonna have to lean back 1 and 2, but it's a possibility.
I've learned it in my life in politics. People love to vote their pocketbook.
Okay.
Man, look, who wants to take money out of my pocket? You can't have my vote. That's number one.
Okay, and but the second half of the show, I promise our listeners we're gonna get into Jefferson Parish politics. I know I done got a couple of buzz saying, "What about Jefferson Parish?" We're gonna talk about Jefferson Parish. We New Orleans, that's our neighbor. It's very important to know what's going on, and it affects us right on, regardless. So you are listening to Church Without Walls. Your host, Charles Stewart, and Reverend Anthony Williams, and our special guest today is former Senator Derrick Shepard. I also like to add in there, he is a now businessman. He's a great businessman. And I know everybody in Jefferson Parish love him. And they love him in New Orleans because they put him in office.
Yes.
Made him senator. So we're going to take another break. And after that, we're going to talk about Jefferson Parish. So you like to get in on it? Area code 504-341-8255. You're listening to Church Without Walls on the New Orleans Talk Network. We'll be back.
Here at Jones Insurance, your full-service agency, let us take care of all your insurance needs. We provide homeowners insurance, flood, rental, commercial, auto, and life insurance. Don't let the unexpected tragedy destroy your family's future. Here at Jones Insurance, 7603 West Bank Expressway, Mayoral, Louisiana, 772. Contact Lois at 504-348-1492.
Listen up. Your customers, our listeners, could be hearing about your business right now. Yeah, right now. Don't miss out on the opportunity to advertise with NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. Call our business department today at 504-475-4793 to hear about our great rates. NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. We provide the people, you provide the business.
In the month of October, we honor those who we have loved and lost, and all of us who remain in the fight, the Warrior Angels. New Orleans Talk Network and Boomers Lifestyle Network present the 2017 Warriors Angels fundraiser for the Susan G. Komen For the Cure. Thursday, October 19th, 2017, 6 o'clock to 8:30 p.m. at the New Orleans Talk Network, 7601 West Bank Expressway, Mayoral. There will be food, networking, and entertainment. All are invited. We will never stop fighting. We will never forget.
I'm living my life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden.
Are you looking for a home to live stream your next event? Give us a call here at Bethesda Community Event Center, the only place on a golf course that can host and broadcast live your wedding reception, your baby shower, business seminar, and any other special event. Give us a call at 504-708-9454 for more details.
We are back. We are back.
There's a history behind it.
You are listening to Church Without Walls on the New Orleans Talk Network. My name is Charles Stewart, co-host is Reverend Anthony Williams, and our studio guest today is no other than businessman and former senator Derrick Shepard. We happen to have him in the studio with us today. And we got a lot to talk about Jefferson Parish. 504-341-8255. And many of y'all out there, we are on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Y'all getting a look at him. Some of y'all have probably never seen Mr. Shepard before, so you're able to look at him this morning in the studio. So we're happy to have him. Mr. Shepard, I wanted to start off by saying, in Jefferson Parish politics after Katrina, many people from New Orleans have moved on the west bank of Jefferson Parish. They move on the east bank, but Jefferson Parish are overwhelming. They have moved in our community. What I'm looking at, Mr. Shepard, is the West Bank, and when you look like streets like Lee Street, so many streets that I used to go down, even in West Wego was all white. Now you see many black African Americans living in these homes now, and it's a possibility that the African American community could be 50-50 white, black, or it could be 55. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to it, if anybody even done a study on it. What is your advice on that?
Well, the last time I looked at it was 2007. And that's the last time I had data in my hands that I looked at it. And it was like 47% black, 53% white, or 51% white, and the other percentage was other. We've never had a strong Latino community over here on the West Bank of Jefferson Parish, but it was a strong Vietnamese community, so that was a primary minority in that study. Just looking at it with anecdotal information, I would have to assume that the parishes, the West Bank is more African American since the hurricane, because you're absolutely correct. Certain areas of the West Bank that was always black, are still black. However, certain areas that were predominantly white are now integrated. Prime example is back of Ames. And if you're familiar with the West Bank, you understand when I turn to the back of Ames. That was always a predominantly white community. And now if you go down Cascade, Oklahoma, and even into the new subdivisions further in the back, you're looking at 35 to 40 to sometimes 50 streets back there. So it's definitely a more diverse community here on the West Bank. You got pockets of Gretna that have now expanded. And obviously, you could look at the data from the school board. On our current school board, we have 2 African-American districts, both of them primarily on the West Bank, one with a partial East Bank district, which we never had before. And the only way that the new school board member, Ricky Johnson, could have gotten elected was a majority black district, and that black district was called from Gretna all the way to Harvey. So obviously it is changing, and I just think with that right now, I would put money on it is at least 50-50.
Let's got a call on the phone. Go ahead on D on line 1.
Hey, Charles and Reverend Williams and Derrick Shepard, how you guys doing today?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. You all were talking about the diversity on the West Bank, but, I live on the East Bank. I live in Kenner. And I tell you, we have a lot of Hispanics in this area. Matter of fact, one day I was looking for something on Williams Boulevard, and I went on Williams towards the lake. I was very shocked, how much the Latino people have really, really grown in this area. A matter of fact, in the neighborhood where I live, a lot of houses are lost because, kids won't keep them up. And they are really buying and building and living right next door to us.
Wow.
I'm kind of glad to see that, but there's a lot of diversity where I live here on the East Bank of Jefferson Parish. I don't know about the West Bank, but I know here it is a lot. And, we are growing.
Is that the Lincoln Manor subdivision?
Huh?
Is that the Lincoln Manor subdivision?
Yes. Yes, every time my house goes, matter of fact, they're billing, and every time my house is up for rent, somebody put one up for sale, they are definitely buying in our community. And they're opening up a lot of businesses along that Williams Boulevard corridor going toward Lake Pontchartrain.
And I think that's a good thing. As
It is a
I
good
think
thing.
most
It is a
people
good
should
thing.
feel comfortable with diversity, whether it's blacks moving to the West Banks or Latinos moving to the East Bank. It's a good opportunity for our politics. It's good for our culture. Law-abiding citizens of diverse background makes us all better. I want to make sure that people understand when doors were first opened to us, there was a lot of fears in the white community that we would come and, I don't know, whatever their imagination let them think that we was going to do, never transpired. And the same thing with the Latino community. That's not the issue. The issue is us coming together with a common agenda for the benefit of our children and our parents to make sure that we have a better community here in Jefferson Parish.
Right, and I'll tell you, the Latino community actually worked very well from what I can see here where I live. We have no problems in our community with them. They come in, they build, they buy, they open businesses. We are getting along very well, at least from my perspective. We are not having any problems, and I'm like you guys. I'm happy to see it. I really am.
Good.
Because, like I said, if they didn't come in and buy up a lot of the houses that, needed to be fixed up or whatever, it probably would not happen. And so those houses that can be used for housing people, they probably would have become blighted property and torn down. Mm-hmm. And I think that's not really using what it has. And then once the property is torn down, people don't want to spend, because banks are not going to loan you, $150,000, about basically what a house will cost to build in this community. So I'm happy to see it. I really am very, very happy to see that. Now, I don't know. They work well with us, and we are not having any problems, and I thank God for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your comment, and it's good to talk to you again.
Same here. Okay, y'all take care.
Okay, thanks for calling, D.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Well, you find out, Charles, you see that especially in Avondale right now, a lot of the Latinos are moving in that area now, around that Winn-Dixie area, and they are refurbishing the houses that, whites have moved out because, the fear of the unknown is what I call it.
Yeah.
The fear of the unknown. So where whites have moving out, you find that the Latino community is coming in. They're buying those houses, they're refurbishing them, they're taking care of their loan. I mean, the area looks good in that area where they're moving in. So, I don't see where there's like I said, the fear of the unknown, where there's nothing being destructive in that area. If anything, it's revitalizing the community.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, Reverend William and Mr. Shepard, what I would like to get in our last 15 minutes is only we were talking about the West Bank a few minutes ago, and it's a big concern. We love the East Bank, and it's great. Miss Dunn was talking about what they done on the East Bank and how they get along more better. So I want to say, how can this West Bank galvanize? Like you said, they have a lot of Hispanics, like in this community, but they have an awful lot of blacks. I mean, how do we galvanize together? I mean, somewhere down the line, like you say, on the school board, you have two on the school board. Right now, we only have one black on Jefferson Parish Council, Mr. Spear. And could we possibly get another one? They got so many races coming up, the shaft race coming up, where we definitely, without a shadow of doubt, going to make a difference. Actually, whoever candidate that the black community, if we stay together, we pick the winner. That's the parish president, the shaft race, council at large, all of these races. And I want to put to Mr. Shepard, I know you got the answer. how do we come together? How do we get with the 70th floor, with the Mark Spear and all our elected officials, black leaders, and get together with our pastors, the guys over the minister line? How do we come together and sit down and say, we have the power? I mean, God give us the power. God, let certain things happen. I don't know why it happened. But how do we put it to good use? And we are bad, I think, on line one. Go ahead on, call. I don't know why it happened. But how do we put it to good use? And we are bad, I think, on line one. Go ahead on, call. I don't know why it happened.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead on, call.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You can hear us, baby? We hear you.
This question is for, actually, it's the same thing that Mr. Charles was saying, and this was for former Senator Derrick Shepard. How can we get the blacks to come together on one accord? Because it appears as though all the other races, the Caucasians, the Latinos, everyone is coming together except for the African Americans. So how can we get them to come together, specifically in the churches? I think that the pastors, some pastors may, when it's election time, some pastors may get in front of the pulpit and they may select the person, but in actuality, that's really not the person that they're selecting. So how can the African American community come together and come on one accord and support one another?
Well, thank you for the call, Miss Patty. It's about discerning the truth, and action speaks louder than words. I think the sheriff's race in particular is going to be a great opportunity for us to mobilize as a community. I think what you'll see, in my opinion, you'll see our councilmen and our school board members and our elected officials coming together to get behind a candidate. And I think what that candidate will have to do in order to get their support, which I'm pretty sure that the people we elected will not be the type who just will sell us out. I've always had good experiences with them as far as representing our people. What we have to do then in turn is ask the serious questions to these candidates of what particular actions have you done and that you're going to do to benefit our community. But then at the same time, we have to show up. A leader is only as strong as the people behind him. If a leader's asking our people to come forward and show up, then we have to do that. And then we hold that leader accountable for giving us our support. One of the most precious things I've often said on the campaign trail whenever I campaign is that your vote is the most precious thing you have. Do not give it away. Mm-hmm. Make someone earn it. Make someone understand what it takes. Now, I can think of no more powerful position than sheriff in Jefferson Parish. Mm-hmm. The DA is pretty powerful. The parish president, as we've seen, is not that powerful, but it's important. But Ms. Patty and everybody listening, I can't tell you how important the sheriff race is to us. We will have a coming together of members of the clergy, of elected officials, of just lay people like Mr. Stewart and Reverend Williams who will come to you. But please keep in mind, number one, you have to vote. We show as a power that there's a black constituency that must be adhered to and listened to when we show up in numbers. That's number one. And then number two, we have to hold that person accountable and keep them. If you don't want our children pulled over for no reason, if you don't want our black boys beat up for no reason, if you don't want your nephews, your sons, your grandsons looked at in a discriminatory manner, this is the opportunity. It doesn't come that often. Harry Lee was in office almost over 30 years. The current sheriff, the previous sheriff we just had was almost 18 or 20 years. The next sheriff will be another 20 years. This is the time for us to come together as a community. And it may not be the person that you necessarily have a desire to support, but if the most of us are going with this person, I invite all of us to get together and join in. And you in particular, participate, Ms. Patty. Ask the questions, go to the ministers, and make sure that they're not selling out for $1. You can ask that question and be direct with it.
And if they believe in God Almighty, and listen on and hear me real clearly, if these ministers and everybody believe in God Almighty, the Bible clearly tells us where there's unity.
Yes.
That's right.
It's super strength, and it's super strength. If we come together, as former senators say, as people, if we come together and let our voice be heard, it's no limit to what we can do.
None. Remember, there was a time, and you remember this, we had not one black elected official. And it wasn't that long ago. We're talking about 1989.
Yeah.
That was not that long ago, and we had nothing in this parish but just talk. But people got tired of being tired, and we came together, filed a lawsuit to let the people know we were serious. And then when white folks stepped back and said, you know what, there's 25% of this parish that we have just totally taken for granted. We have to give them representation. We went from 1 seat to now we had over 8, 9.
Yeah.
And there's more to be given so that our children's children can benefit from this parish. So it's there for the taking. We just have to be on guard and be cognizant of it. What you say, Ram Williams?
We have to educate ourselves in what those people are doing for us, and if we don't educate ourselves in that, we will wind up using our vote or giving it away at the poll.
Okay.
And that's something that you don't want to do. We have looked at situations that have happened within Jefferson Parish in a long time. And we have overcome a lot of those obstacles. But just overcoming those obstacles is not enough. We have to overcome them. Stepping stones are in your way. You have to step back, take a look at what's in front of you, step up on it, and allow it to become a stepping stone. Step over it, and focus upon what is great and what is going to benefit me, what's going to benefit our people. As far as the church and the ministers are concerned, politicians don't come around to the church until it's time for voting, and if that's the only time they can come to you, you don't need them.
Right.
You know, you need to come to me when there is a need in the community. When I can come to you and talk to you about what's going on in my community, and you can give us some help. We need parks.
I know we're about to get off there, but I do want to thank Mr. Stewart and Reverend Williams for giving me this opportunity to come back before the people. I haven't had a chance to do that, but I promise you, this is not the last you'll hear from me.
Okay, tell you what, Mr. Shepard, we need you back because we didn't even get into what I really wanted to get in the state of Jefferson Parish and some of the things that we need to do. I mean, I know you got a blueprint up on what we need to do, so I would like Mr. Shepard to come back at a later date. And I don't know,
You got that.
Dr. William, and we're going to talk with you about when you want to come back. But, Doc, we need to get into Jefferson Parish politics. It's very important that our citizens know and understand this. So we'd like to thank our listening audience who tune in to us every Monday morning. We just want to say that we love you in all special ways. While on over there in Great City, you know we love you, baby. We love everybody out there. We always call a couple names, but if we don't call your name, put it on our account. We'll pay it at a later date. We always want to thank everybody for listening, and we thank our special guests, former Senator Mr. Shepard, on behalf of Dr. Williams and Charles Stewart. We love you, we love you, we love you. We always say it's no such thing as being half dead. If you're dead, you're dead. See you next week.